So what do we do now that we've found out that Yahweh is just the storm god El, and the other gods that we're worshiping were Saturn, who used to eat his children and caused them to use cannibalism, which is, the Canaanites and their worshiping of Baal was the source of that. And that Jesus is just a copy of Mithra and his legends now, that our gods seem to be fading away. Well, no, they're not fading away. They're still there with us, doing exactly everything that they ever did for anybody. It's just now we know the truth. They're still there watching over you if you want to believe it, But isn't it amazing what we've done now, here at least in this last few hundred years? It's amazing the atrocities we did in the name of that creature or that entity, but now it's amazing what we're actually doing as a people together. That, like the Bible says, Un-Babylizing. Once we become Un-Babylized, that we really are taking off as a species, that we've come to another level that really seems to show our strength and our own strength, a strength that was always ours, that's still there, evident. Nothing has changed. I mean, this whole endeavor is a triumph of the Spirit and a triumph of mankind to rise above, to know that, there are still great mysteries of the universe. We still don't know what Big G really is, but Big G has changed now. Big G is something that Professor Tyson would say that he even worships Big G right now, because it's the thing that's unknown. It's the one they're trying to find, because Big G is gravity now. They don't know how elements hold all together, and they've got it just about pieced together. Probably something like I had whenever I was a little younger, before I figured out the rest of it. And one day soon, we'll figure that out too. We'll conquer that boundary of what Big G gravity is. It'll probably change humanity again, just like any large step that we've ever done. And in doing so, it'll take us to another level. But this finding out, this dawning of a new age of Aquarius that we're coming through, is showing us something. It's showing us we all have strength, inner strength, and that it was ours all along, that we are the gods of this world, that we are set upon it to rule, and we haven't done that bad of a job. Some of our shortcomings are actually shown in that Bible, where certain things happened. Things that wouldn't be accepted nowadays in a modern society. Clearly, some of the genocide and things that happened in the Bible would really be something that would probably bring about a trial of Nuremberg or something during a modern day time now, as we look at it. So I think that it's amazing that it's lasted this long, that mankind has become so intelligent and so past the point of believing that it's even hard to believe now whenever it's explained to somebody. I see it roll over in their mind, and then almost invariably every time that I go through the whole thing with somebody, they go, "It couldn't have been that easy. I mean, everybody had to figure this out." And I go, "You've been listening to this Bible stuff and experiencing everything in the world, and you've never looked at it this way. You've never figured it out. And any little hint you had at it, like Noah's Ark and things, just like with me, was always sloughed off somehow and said, well, they got a couple of stories wrong, but I believe the essence. And I do believe the essence. I believe the stories and teachings and a lot of the ideals that you get out of it are good morals for people to have. But I also generally believe that some of the morals that it shows in there are things that really are not acceptable nowadays. Some of the oppression and things that it shows towards other people, the way they seem to dislike the Canaanites, which apparently now was their own origins, if not literally themselves the whole time. And I can't help but to think that all along someone knew, and every time they popped their head up like a weasel, that got cut off by the church. And most of these people that were left really, really honestly believed that their gods were God Almighty. And it's strange now that even the people that are having the big wars amongst themselves are all with that same exact book, the same ideals and the same Bible. That I've got the right and you've got the wrong, and that it's some kind of holy war. And you can see what that type of book breeds. And we've got to get past that real quick. We need to unify ourselves as a people. We need to get to the point that race doesn't matter, creed doesn't matter, none of this matters. And everybody thinks that the idea is to just blend it all together, and it's definitely not. It's definitely not. Whenever you eat dinner, do you want to just take it all and throw it in a pot? Some people don't like it all casseroled up. Certain things just don't go well that way. And the flip side of that coin is these special people that we have their cultures are incredible. They need to be something that's cherished and held forever if we can. I mean, the exoticness of Thailand. My father used to be stationed in Thailand, and he used to bring us back some of the most exotic stories, pictures, trinkets from there, handmade things, stuff that was just amazing. You know, all the cultures around the world, in each their own separate little flavor or their own special place. It needs to be cherished and always held on to. People don't need to blend. They need to keep going with what's going on. You know, grab your own history, cherish it, you know. Let's figure out where we all come from, though. Let's look into this. We have to do what God said in the Bible and go to the heavens. We have to go and see what's going on. We need to start applying ourselves. And you want to know what to do next? This is what to do next. We need to go here and see what that is. That is the finger of God. This is the pillars of creation right here. This place is the hand of God. And if we can go and explore the hand of God, then we might have more of an understanding of the universe that we live in. And as we step out, being Star Trek type people in this new age that we're coming into, I really don't think we need to have the exact Star Trek directive of not messing with a culture. I think we need to do pretty much what was done with us. Is there some type of assistance and be left alone? But we need to think about that before we do it. Is it going to make these people think that we're gods, and it's going to spin them off into this wicked thing that keeps them trapped for thousands of years? Or will that in itself teach them some morals in life and hold them together until they become above that point? You know, I'm not sure which one it is, but one thing for sure, good minds can get together and figure that one out. I believe that we should help all life go, you know, to ascend. And I think that we should help make life form on other planets. If we show up to a place that ends up being able to harbor life, we should try to expand that life. And if we find a small amount of life on that place, we should expound upon that life. I think that'll be our prime directive. One thing we have to be careful of, not to make some creature perhaps that might end up taking over the galaxy or causing something bad way, way down the line, like creating some kind of alien creature, like from the movie Aliens, that went wrong. We need to try to steer away from something like that. Although I'm sure some life like that has formed somewhere in the galaxy. It's going to be hard for it to get off its planet. Hopefully we won't run into that one. Just a far off subject, just a twinge one, but when we come to these pillars of creation, we're going to figure out a lot more about how things are created and started, how stars form and blow back the winds of dust, and it makes everything coagulate together and brings it into being planets, like our planet ourselves. And as now that we've gotten to being able to look down on the planet and became a much smaller place, maybe we can do that thing that we talked about years ago whenever I was a kid, and not in alliteration, but in mind, try to hold hands around the globe and see if we can't un-Babylized ourselves a little bit more than we have, to come together that the threat is not me, because the threat is not you. The threat is us ruining the planet for both of us, for all of us. So we need to all get together looking at that. But there has to be an out. There needs to be an out in a way of going to other planets. We need to begin to make this move. And so we need to do something like take a budget of the world, and due to the population, a portion of the money is put aside to help out mankind on the planet, and another portion of that is set aside to try to get us off this planet and to help us out in endeavors like stopping comets and asteroids from hitting us, but also in building a space station that can one day put an engine on and just start pushing it through the galaxy, and to take a generation of people through a few generations of time to try to explore one of these places we know has life on it or has the capability to sustain it. Once we get up into space with real good telescopes and a lot more information starts coming in, maybe then perhaps we could find a planet we'll be confident enough in that people will want to take this endeavor. Lewis and Clark weren't confident they were ever going to come back. And none of the Apollo people were sure they were going to come back, even though the one before had. And it was a risk they were willing to take, not for John F. Kennedy, but for all of mankind. And he said it when he stepped off the ship. This is one giant leap for mankind. And if you want to look at another leap, the one I'm talking about now is not a leap, but it's the moment Superman decided he no longer leapt over tall buildings, but he could fly. We all should take off and fly. It's what we're destined to do. When I was a young kid, my brother and I watched the Apollo program, and we thought that we were going to go into space. By the time we would be now, at our age now, that everybody would be going into space like popcorn, it wouldn't be an issue. There was going to be 10 or 20 space stations floating around. A space station on the moon. We had visioned we already went to Mars, that we tried to terraform it in places, and that we were starting to take off. That was Keith and I's thought, when we were little kids, that by now we would have been there, And then whenever I remember reading the George Orwell thing, and I'm like, I'm sure hoping it's not like that. It's more like me and my brother thought that it was. And we're still kind of somewhere between that, getting somewhere. And there seems to be something holding us back, and it seems to be money and a budget and things like that. But money is nothing more than what we have valued for a commodity. That's all money has a value for. And if we looked at the value of commodity of human life, it's not got a number on it. It's not got a piece of gold, 4 coins, 6 coins, 10. It doesn't have a number. It shouldn't have a number. And us exploring doesn't have a number. You know, the old thing, they threw money at it. You know, that's how Spain got over here in the first place with Columbus, is they finally took a few ships and a lot of money. They threw some money at it. And they didn't care if this guy fell off the other side of the planet and went off the edge of the ocean because the world's flat. It's not, by the way, you can see here. But they were willing to try. And there are many, many people who are willing to try to see if they can find life on another planet. And it would be a controversial thing to know that their children were going to be automatically born into the idea they were born in space, and that they were headed from some place they never knew called Earth to a new world that no one had ever seen before, and that when they show up there, their children would be the ones to attempt to inhabit this place. It's an odd thought. It's a strange thought. Once we spend a lot more time in space, perhaps we'll be able to have that as a grasping thought that could even go on. No child is ever born in space. Nobody's ever spent even the long duration. You know, we'd have to get artificial gravity going and things for that to really come into effect for long-term space travel. But we need that. It's something that we've had movies about driving us for years. 2000 Space Odyssey, 2010 A Space Odyssey. They're just going to keep pushing it back. Well, look what they thought back in the 70s it would be like in 2010 if they just put a curve on it, and here we go. And we kind of just stopped. And we got a lot more scientific with the space shuttle program and things, and hey, I agree with a lot of it that's been learned out of that, but we now need to take that next step. I see a lot of astrology, astronomy. I look at a lot of works that we're doing now, things we're doing. It's incredible. It is. But it's probably 1/2 of what we should be doing things towards. You know, the budgets that we have, or we're spending way too much on certain things and not enough on other things that are starting to become more and more and more important to not just America, but mankind. And we need to reevaluate just a little bit here on not us. Don't evaluate on us. Evaluate on our children. From our point right now, evaluate our children's position when they are our age, what they will be looking at, what they will be facing. And let's help them to begin to get there before they have to. Do you follow me? We need to try to set up our goal and then achieve it. We can do it within a couple of generations. We can get there. You can tell with SpaceX and all these things that they're doing that it really is almost in reach. And I think we just need to reach out a little bit harder, or perhaps maybe let go of the thing that's holding us back so we can jump at it and go ahead and grasp that. There's going to be hardships, there's going to be losses, there's going to be things that happen. And albeit there were ships that never made it to America, and there were people that died of diseases, and there's been 1,001 things that have tried to hold mankind back and have never been able to do it. And I see the things that are trying to hold us back right now, and now that this overbearing God and things that we have to appease can be out of the situation, maybe now we can go actually and go find him. For he's with us, but he's not here. And his face is on the heavens. And we've touched it a few times and come close, but I think we really need to go and meet the creator of all. And it's not going to be something we're going to pull up like a drive-through and shake his hand. This is not what I'm talking about. Hopefully you do understand what I'm talking about. That when we do go to the heavens, that we will be playing God. And at that point, if we ever landed on a planet where there was a Cro-Magnon type man and helped him out, we would have been their God. Something like this happened to us, and it's something that'll happen over and over again to thousands of creatures and beings all across our galaxy and the universe. If we ever run into one of these, it's going to be a 1 in a million shot. But I can see 10 million stars in front of us whenever I look at the sky. And that's just the ones I see. And some of those dots are actually galaxies that contain that many more. So there's far too much opportunity and far too little attempt. And I think mankind should reach farther. What do we do next? We do. We do what we do, and now we don't act inhibited about it anymore. We direct and hold each other just like we have, in the same manner that we've been doing. For nothing changes at all, except for our goals and our ideals and our direction. And we continue. But now that we know that our horsepower has been unleashed, let's go ahead and push and open up that 4-barrel. Just a little bit. Not acting crazy or hectic. But let's see what this baby can do. Let's push the envelope a little, as they used to say in The Right Stuff. Go, hot dog, go. There were great men that I watched go into space whenever I was a child who are starting to pass on now. Some of them are still alive. And in the honor of those people, and every explorer on the planet before, and every explorer on the planet that ever will be, we all should endeavor to be like them and find that place again.